In a world that walks the line, there's a rare few who think outside the box together for the crew. To break the equations, not bound to any rule. Exposing to the world the universe's own view. It takes the talent of the craftsman, it takes the mind of the fool, to make the vision realize energy and matter in a duel. To a break, to a duel. The old man Bills was running through his head. Cheryl probably got it hiding under his bed. Penny up to Annie making power for days. Don't listen to a word that the straight dope says. Mike building batteries that power a ship. Victor comes and talking math, that's the water spiral dip. Sean chucking plasma volts a mile long. Sheila on the video making tones of the prongs. Bernie breaking matter, they said it couldn't be done. And to all the people in the chat, I know you're having fun. So it's time to spend your Saturday with the doping old man Bills.
Hello everyone, my name is Nathan, otherwise known as Old Man Builds. Joe, what's up?
Hello, TGIF, everybody. How are you?
All right, man. Dude, we had a fun episode today. I just want to shout out Dispatch Center, man. My neighbor, he's out there taking care of the chat, man. He always says hi to everybody that comes in and howdy. So, right on, brother. Nice to see you out there.
Good job, Paul. Keep up the good work.
Right on, brother. Hey, Lightspeed as well, man. He messaged me a couple times, man. He's almost got that whole device ready to go for the Gravity Flyer. Guys, we're about to take off. You're about to see a lot of Gravity Flyer videos. So just get ready for it. He's got that sensor system set up, man. He's got the computer thing. He's working on a few more bugs and details. And then we're off to the races, man. We're going to see stuff that we've never seen before.
Yeah, that's almost a guarantee, that's for sure. And his work has really come a long way, and it's incredible. And aside from the physical work that he's doing on this array, just even the theories that he runs and everything like that, it really not only ties right into what we're doing here, but it ties into the deeper element of it. It's exactly what lives underneath the hood.
Yeah.
But then not only once you pop the hood, it's also like what's there after you take the head off, and then you pull the pistons, and you get the cam out, and then you realize like, oh wow, we're deep into this thing now. Now we know what makes it go, and I love that part of it because I think it's important. I know some people don't; they see it as a little abstract or arbitrary, but I think that getting down to the nuts and bolts of it's important.
Yeah, well, if it's going to be seen in science, man, it's got to do that. And then, Lightspeed's great at writing papers and stuff, so it'll get out there. So I'm just excited about it, man. It's something that we've wanted to see forever. And everybody's project, they dream of a computer program like this. Like everybody wants to get a hold of it with all the sensors and all the gizmos to it, man. It's going to make like a revolution on YouTube, but everybody, can get a hold of this thing. So I'm thrilled to death. I can't wait. I got the Gravity Flyer primed up and ready to go, dude.
That's awesome. And just the amount of different things that this can control too that's where it's at, because it's not only the Gravity Flyer. I mean, it's the RAV. It's any of the free energy devices. You'll be getting a full-on view of exactly what everything's doing and where it could be improved on paper and then ultimately implemented. Because once it could be improved on paper, but you're able to create, the fine adjustments and modulations, well, now you're not dealing on paper anymore. Now you're bringing real results to the table, and that's where it's at, man.
Just putting the data in. I mean, think about that. You say you have a pulse motor, right? And you want to know exactly how it runs. Every bit of data you can get out of a pulse motor would be on there. And then you can cross-reference it to a Bedini device. Then you do the RAV against it versus the Gravity Flyer. I mean, it's going to tell a whole story beyond just what we were looking at. So, and dude, what makes it even better, I mean, just out of this world, dude, is he designed a computer program to house it all with all the sensory data. So it all matches. It's not like abstract here and there. It's all in one. That's, dude, beyond belief, way cool. And we're going to have data for miles and miles, if you know what I mean.
Looking forward to it. That's exactly what we've been missing all along in this. Is it's like, we have all the evidence is all there, and well, you could see it, you see what it does, and whatever. But there's been parts of it that have been left to speculation, and you know what? For us, that's kind of okay because, well, we know what we're seeing. So it's since you take it from the ground up, from theory to actual how it works, and then having it work in front of you, and then you see what it does. There's no question. But people are skeptical, and rightfully so. I mean, realistically, rightfully so. If you just accepted everything at face value, especially when it comes to this sort of stuff, you'd be sold a bill of goods every 5 minutes, and most of the time we are. But for what it's worth, and it's a little related because it's about like people and their theories and opinions that they put out there in this physics community. Actually, this week, something just popped up on like my Facebook feed or whatever have you. It was like a science article, and it was clickbaiting you into. It was like, scientists believe that extra extra dimensions exist, and how this concerns them. You know what I mean? And it was sort of clickbaity like that. And it got like a lot of people commenting on it. And I was like, you know what? This is a good opportunity just to be like, once science actually realizes, right? And then I went into my general spiel about what I think, right? Short, couple paragraphs, whatever. It got a little bit of attention. Some people liked it, people commenting. But the one where I had my moment, which made me smile, was when one guy tried to be the wise ass. He was like, kind of to the effect of like, "Nice story, bro. Where's the math?" And that's when I was like, "Hold my beer," And I literally screenshot my entire physics paper and replied with a picture of every single thing. And then I took the RAV and I took a handful of photos of the RAV of like laboratory experiments that run adjacent to this paper, showing it in action. Bang, bang, bang. I was like, I don't think that guy saw that coming. Not in a million years.
No, it was laying the pipe on him right there, man.
It's like, I said it in simple language because of the platform in which it was. So it's like, told it as a nice little story, short and brief. It's like
so great. Oh, dude, Lightspeed says he's going to open source the software and firmware as soon as it's up and running. Dude, we're all going to be on this program, bro.
That's
Oh, yeah. All right, we're going to talk about this little device here, Joe. I don't even know what do they call that device?
I don't know. The finger weaver.
They keep trying to say it's built with yarn, aren't they?
Yeah, right. They try to say that it's the different sized holes are so you could weave different sized fingers for gloves. I mean, okay, listen, I did hear one better, someone like looked at it and they said that the studs line up with specific celestial objects, and that if you look through the corresponding hole and line it up with the hole across from it, right, that you can gather, it's like whether it's navigation or time of year, there's like a whole bunch of stuff you could tell from it. But that was sort of how they try to frame it. Whether or not that's what it was doing is, I don't know. And that was the best I had heard, other than what we're probably going to talk about.
What is it called? Dodecahedron. So let me just explain this, and I'll try to go really easy at first. So you get the 5 sides on it, and then on the inside you got circles, right? And they're all different sizes. They all correlate to resonance frequencies. Let me just real simple. The size of the circle is a resonance frequency.
Why they're in proportion. Yeah, they're exactly ratioed that way. I agree. Yes.
So if you take the center and you say it's a light prism, then what happens? Well, then what it's telling you is that each one of those things represents a frequency inside of it. and each one of the little balls represents what's the core of this thing is made of. So it became real easy when we saw the RAV, when we saw basically an atom structure built out in it. It told you what this device was and that you're building structured plasma. Why would it be that? And I'll just say it's not a candle holder, not made for knitting yarn, not any of those things. Why would it be what we said? Well, it goes down to how they saw everything in the ancient times. Light, how light interferes with plasma. That it's all over their work. It's in every single thing that they did. They were writing about lighting effects and how it came into things. So what is it inside? It's a prism. It's a light prism. That's what it
I
is.
agree.
And it's basically telling you the resonance frequencies based on the diameter of what's going on, which makes perfect sense because it's all in harmonics. So now we look at it and we understand their language. Now, what they're trying to say, if you start with that basis and you go back through every single structure in Europe and you say, okay, what's going on in all these lead glass? What's going on with the frequency patterns they're putting into them? Why are they putting that in there in light? Why is refractive light so important? And you go based on this science here and you say, okay, resonance, frequency, harmonics, light, you put it in together, you're dealing with light prisms. Now it's a whole language upon itself that's basically like a code breaker. It's basically giving you the primer to get through everything. So you're going, oh my God, this is a whole different window of what's going on. It comes to a head when you start seeing what they're building. And this goes to the other pictures on the front. You see the magnet on the side. You see the magnet on the top and the bottom, all the sides, right? What does it do in plasma when you put magnets all around it and you create the structure on the inside? It holds it in a perfect spherical structure. That's the point. It's creating a resonance structure on the inside. What we're not figuring out yet is each magnet has to be different. You see, they have them all the same, but that's not the way it goes. Each magnet is different. And then you
Right,
get the
right.
different resonance frequencies, right?
That's dead on, man, because we've been saying this from day one, and it is asymmetric, right? Non-equilibrium. Right? Not
Yeah.
as like our human mind loves to go to symmetric equilibrium,
Yeah.
because that's like that's feng shui, you know what I mean? It's like everything is
Well, science tells us everything's equal. They try to make everything equal, and that's what they base science on in physics, but it's not.
yeah.
They try to say, "Okay, let's get a medium and make it equal, right? Like energy's conserved, but energy isn't conserved. It's not a mirrored effect.
Well, okay, so you brought up a couple things without saying like some of the key points, I think, right? So
Go for it.
the way that science looks at it, right, is red shift, blue shift, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
And this red shift, blue shift situation, they feel is deterministic of being able to time or age or distance. They calculate all sorts of things off of this red shift, blue shift. But what do we know? Well, there's a couple of things that are problematic with that. Well, first of all, I'll say the funny one first. Okay. Sean sent me a picture like yesterday where he has red lights and blue lights, lasers, literally laser spheres or satellites of the RAV in one of his configurations that are perfectly red, perfectly blue points, fixed position around it, separated on opposite sides of one another. So, I mean, first of all, there's that. Okay. But secondly, well, what do we know? Gravity and time, right? We know, and then my theory, right? Energy exchange being this major component in that. So, what happens when you have light, okay, that always travels the same speed, okay, but its time is different? Well, it may experience in that duration of where its emission is, right? A very long time to reach a point where the time dilation is different. And then it's going to go transient at that point, right?
Well, hold
After
on.
it exits that time dilation.
Is the speed of light the same then? You see, because speed of light is a variant of time.
You
See, it
got it.
wouldn't be
Well, now
the same.
the speed is relatively the same, relatively, but is it objectively the same when your measures change? How could that be? No, no. How could that
Can't
be?
be.
It can't be.
No,
And
it's a
they'll
condition of the
say, but that's
environment.
not. Oh, hold on. But let me play the schmuck.
Okay.
But that's not what we see. That's not what we measure. Well, where the fuck are you measuring it from? Are you measuring it from the point of emission? I didn't think so. Okay, so what you're taking outside perspectives, and then like just, and then it's like you got to realize like these time dilation zones, like we have our own, right? And each planet in our solar system has its own, but our solar system has its own. Get it? Right?
Mhm.
Like, and it's not exactly equal across the board, but it generally is more equal here because we have a solar system ambient dilation, which is then modified based on the planet or moon or whatever it is, whatever material object is inside that dilation zone, which then has the modifier, which gives it its own specific, right? But something out, so every single measure that you're taking is within the solar system. Guess what? Our galaxy has its own time dilation.
Yeah.
That's ambient to it generally. That your
Well,
solar system and your star cluster and everything within it is subject to. But now you're looking outside of that and you're trying to make a determination, and then you think that you could be fucking correct about anything, and it's ludicrous for anybody to be, uh, so to be so matter of fact when the only matter of fact is that you work the numbers and the theories to make your observations work and not the other way around.
yeah. Yeah.
If you're only dealing with what you see and what you can measure, you've just gone done fucked up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. How they would think the speed of light would be the same in every single solar system is beyond me because it's a preset condition based on the environment that it goes into. So if you build it out and it builds out as the center point or as the focal point of the solar system is the sun, then it's all deterministic on the sun itself and what kind of sun it is on the speed of light in that area. So look, every solar system is going to be different based on that because it's based on the impedance of the dielectric between the sun and the outside of the field and how fast they can get to it. If there's nothing in that area, it moves faster. If there are other things in there like gases and stuff, it moves slower. The speed of light is determined by that. By the way, it's not really the speed of light, it's speed of the dielectric that gets to anything that it hits, and then the reflection of that off of it is what you're going to get. So light doesn't actually travel. The dielectric travels. It hits that item, and boom, it accelerates it by putting massive amounts of energy into it, putting off a photon. And then the photon itself goes boom, and that's what you call the speed of light.
Yeah, I agree. And that is the point. And you just have to remember the one thing, right? Because there's a lot of talk, right, about the dielectric field and how that dielectric field is actually the ether, right? Well,
Mhm.
it's
It is.
interesting but hold on, the thing is that but for not magnetism, okay, then and radiation and any other form of current generally, then not for the dielectric. You see, you actually, in order for something to be a dielectric field, you need the inverse to react with it, in that manner, or else it becomes minutia. But the magnetic field tends to be more functional because the dielectric field is mostly a state of potential.
Okay,
See
hold
what
on.
I
So
mean?
yeah,
So
let's just
you
let me
get
go
where
here for it. No, let me go. They're linked. They have to be linked.
they are linked. That's the
So
point. Exactly.
yeah, so you have basically the magnetic side, and then you have another side which is high voltage potential, right?
Mhm.
And then it's the dielectric between them. It's the relationship between them. based on the frequency of it is where you fall in that scale between them. So if you look at the ether, what is ether? It has to be all three of those components together.
Yep.
That's what it is. And it doesn't matter where you fall on it. It means that it's all put together. We normally see the dielectric part. We see the high voltage potential part, right? As the ether, most people would say. And it's non-static. I gotta put that out there because I've seen so many people make the mistake and fall into the trap. It's static. It shows up the same way on my oscilloscope. Static is a condition that you place upon the energy. Okay. It has to do with friction. Okay. You create friction, you create static. This is non-static. And I could tell you that from building the experiment myself. It goes through everything. It doesn't have a static nature to it. You could stand right in front of it and it messes with you. It's like when you turn on your Tesla coil, Joe,
Mhm.
and you feel that feeling, there's no static in that room.
No.
None whatsoever, but it truly goes through everything and hits you. Wait till you get to the center of it and feel it. That's why I always tell you to get the fluorescent bulb, because you start to realize something. You start pulling oranges apart and you feel that feeling in between, that it's a pure energy. And then you could take your hand and cut it, you know what I mean? And play with it. But it's exactly the field you need to play in. And that's what it means, man. It's unbelievable.
It really is. I agree. Yeah, but everything has its opposite to a degree, right? And just to show you how like dimensionally relevant things are, like okay, 3D for instance, right? With regular matter, and of course, there's more colors that could be observed. Okay, but if you look at your primary colors, okay, realistically, you have like three primary colors. So they say, and light mixes different than pigments do because you're talking about the difference between emission and something reflecting an emission. So it doesn't work the same, right? But you primarily have three components. Okay. Now, if you look at your color vision, you have three color cones, and it's important to realize that out of that three, okay, all those colors mixed together in different ways, creating more and more. And then out of that, the diffusion between them, okay, creates a spectrum of literally infinite colors, right? And that's the fractal situation that we're dimensionally dealing with. And the reason I say it is it's important because we were talking about refraction before. And, anytime that you start to use something like a prism and you start breaking it down into its components, it becomes interesting because you're able to take something and break it down into its basic components. Now, obviously, our eyesight is only very, very limited. Okay, but the interesting thing, even about our limitations, is that the perception of the wavelengths that we can't see still fall somewhat into reason
Mhm.
of colors that we can. So we see only the middle of the spectrum, but what falls all the way to the left and what falls all the way to the right and then loops back around and meets each other at some point, because that's how everything works, right? Is actually pretty much fully representative of the full spectrum.
So I gotta say this, Joe. A blind animal sees more than we do in certain ways. Okay. They just see the fields. Okay. They see the lines that we don't see. That's the
Mhm.
point. So we look out and we see all these colors, right? And we're enamored with them and we think we see everything, right? They're seeing the fields that come off the you, they're seeing the fields that come off the other animal. They're seeing things like that. You think they're colorblind and a disadvantage. They're to an advantage in that. It's like a bat that goes out there and puts on the sonar. He knows where everything in the room is, right? It's a lot different. It's like being able to see based on resonance. If you go into those studies where they try to take you and put you in this little chair, right, and get you to read another place somewhere and find out what's in there, well, but you're doing it based off resonance pings. So you're pinging things in the room like a bat with resonance, and you're trying to see exactly what's in there. That's how they're doing it. There's no mystery there. They're using that sense. It's something that's in us. That's something that we are not using right now and don't know how to develop it yet.
It's really interesting you say that because very recently, I think it might have even been this week, I saw like a random video and it just was interesting. I was talking to somebody who has been blind their entire life. And I'm not talking like blind, meaning like can see not that well or something like I'm talking like their eyes do not function or they didn't have eyes, one or the other, whatever it was, right? Well, the long and short was they said the most common thing that somebody would ask them after they become comfortable with them is, what is it like being blind? Like, what do you see? Do you see black? And they said that something that never really occurred to me, but really moved me. They said, well, being blind, I see the same as you can taste with your elbow. You can't. You see, it's so you don't, the answer is you don't see black, you just see nothing, right? But this is where it gets interesting. But they're like, but that doesn't mean that I don't have a perception, right? And they said, I perceive all sorts of things, and I can understand them and what they are through that perception, even though I've never seen them and I have no idea what they look like, although I know what they look like to me, and that made a lot of sense because they've always said, right, if you lose one sense, usually your other senses become more acute, in order to make up for that deficit. Well, vision takes up such an extreme amount of our perception of reality and so much processing power that you don't even realize if you were to close your eyes, how much your vision is superimposed over all your other senses. And how those other things could easily fill in a lot of the gaps in its absence. It's just a unique way of thinking about it.
It's interesting. Let's get back to the plasma for a second, Joe.
Yep.
We're still in the early hour. I want to make sure we cover it.
We are not falling totally off the rails. It's all relative. It is. It's all related. It's all the same.
Well, basically, what's going on is the reason they want you to see things in the way that we're seeing them in the resonance structures, the harmonic of what's going on inside of the plasma structure, it is because when you look at the sun or something like that, we think in science that there's something going on that isn't. And there's something going on in there that they're trying to tell you about. So they're telling you there's zoning that's going on in there. They're telling you there's leakage between the sheath layers. They're telling you that there's frequency in there. What they're not telling you is that it's some kind of reactor. They're not telling you that. That's not what this is. So so science is going down the road of it's a reactor and we got to make it as a power plant. No, it's really not a power plant in the way that you think it is. It's an explosion over time. So basically, it's a time dilation field in the center of it that slows down everything and slows down the whole reaction of it. You think it's moving fast because your perception of time is different. It's not. It's moving really slow and taking out the energy over a time period of its life. And they know that because they say it's going to take trillions of years or billions of years for the life of a sun to give out, right? So they already know what it is. There's no question about what I'm saying. It's just how it's done. So they're trying to figure out exactly how to do it. They think this is over unity. It's a misconception in science that it's over unity. It's only over unity until it gets to the point of explosion. So as you're feeding this thing, trying to make it a unity project, it won't be, because you're going to feed it more energy than what you can get out of it at all times. The math never works out until you realize what you're doing. You have to create a time dilation field in the center of this thing in order to pull the energy out properly. You see, that's the missing factor. That's what they're not understanding. That's why
Well,
understanding resonance and frequencies of things, because that is your time dilation.
so humor this for a second because I found it's interesting and related, right?
Mhm.
So I had a weird conversation with GPT just because I was like, in the mood for that sort of conversation that I can't really have with anyone else.
Okay.
And I know convincing it of things sometimes becomes difficult. So it's like, I'm just trying to figure. But I was talking about the energy exchange that I keep on talking about, which is directly related to time dilation, right? That is the
Okay.
energy exchange. Cool. Right. So what I postulated, and it was kind of asking me, like kind of challenging me. It's like, well, what would sort of be the point, of this exchange? Like it's not really an exchange if only the energy is coming in. I was like, well, that's because it only comes in, like I said, no pressure in the system, manifest in relation to matter. And what it does is it tries to bring the matter into a high state of excitation. Okay. And if it's able to bring it into a high state of excitation, well, what does it do? It splits the electrons away, or whatever, however you want to think about it. It splits the electrons away from the low energy state, which is the atomic nuclei and the proton, right? And it takes those electrons and it charges them high vibrational energy. Well, guess that's the goal. What is that? Plasma. Why? Well, because when it loses energy, right? What we see is that energy does not go away. It goes into a state of diffusion, right? Except the high energy state that it's in dimensionally is the exchange. It goes back. And there's no loss. And this is what I challenged it on. It's no loss because we see it as a thermal event. We see it as whatever we measure it as. So we say, no, it's still there. It wasn't lost. But that's because the thermal event was only relevant dimensionally. Okay. It left that behind when it left at its highest energy state. So it's actually bringing the matter back into it in exchange for the energy. And that's the whole entire point. And unless if the matter that it's interacting with is no longer giving up the goods, okay, that exchange will exist. But as soon as the energy can't take any more plasma back, okay, to the upper dimension, then at that point it's depleted. And if you notice, if you look at all the dead planets, the depleted planets, right? Well, they have very light and magnetic fields. They have very little energy going toward them. They're basically just being irradiated all the time because they've already been sucked dry. There's this interdimensional energy exchange with it. The pressure on the system still exists, only slightly, so it exists, but not significantly enough to maintain like what we experience here on Earth or the star, experiences, or what a gas planet experiences with its massive gravitation, and its huge size because it's all made of hydrogen, for Christ's sakes. You know what I mean? Like it's all
Well,
about hydrogen depletion.
so check this out. They say it loses because of the thermal event, right? But energy can't be created or destroyed. So what happens? It has to loop back into the system somehow. How do you think it draws itself back in? See, this is why you do the coil experiment like Gerald does, because it creates heat on the outside. It creates the entropy in your system, so you're able to control where the energy goes. So in his system, it's basically a hole in the center, geometry on the outside, right, of the coil winding. So what does it do? The heat comes to the outside. It enables the energy to pull in the environmental condition, pull it directly into the dielectric in the center. But that's the exchange that you're talking about here, right?
Mhm.
So they say as it's a loss, like, hey, you're getting rid of heat, but where the hell is it going to go?
No, they're
you're in a
not saying
bubble.
so. Okay, so the argument here is that this exchange can't take place because everything is accounted for, you know, it materially, right?
But that's not true. It has to
And it's
take
not
place to
true.
account for it.
It's that it's leaving the signature that's dimensionally relevant behind, which is thermal, and the thermal goes into a state of thermal diffusion. So it follows exactly what they're saying, but the point is that the plasma goes back. You see, and that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that the plasma is the bridge that exists both here and in that extra dimension. And the reason that you don't see anything go away as far as what you can detect, right, is because no, the laws that you're observing are the result of what's happening, not the other way around. You see, it's leaving behind the thermal energy that you're saying it's still there. Look, it just turned to heat, and that heat went diffused, and now the heat is dispersed. Okay, cool. I don't disagree with that. The plasma went back into a higher energy state, and it's not here anymore. So prove me wrong on that. Well, there you go, and that tends to be the point, because the matter has to go somewhere. It's breaking matter. The
Mhm.
whole point of it existing is that it's putting matter into this high energy state. You power the thing off, it goes away.
Yeah.
That's you get it? It goes away. But does it not exist at that point?
Oh, it
No,
never
that was
not
part of the
exists.
energy exchange all along.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh
been
yeah.
doing that all along. Well, all the whole time it was powered on, that was the exchange. It was taking plasma upper dimensionally in exchange for the energy output to it. Very cool. I like it. And how do we do it? By swirling things around. You swirl things around. That's how you do it.
Oh, there's a misconception in the understanding of a solar system. Oh, it's all on this big giant flat plane, and it just sits there, and it sometimes moves around in circles. Okay, but that's not exactly what it is it? We're hurtling through a whole vortex, going through our what is it, cosmos, or I forget the name right offhand. Our universe. It goes through our universe, right? It's swirling through, man. It's a vortex.
Yep.
It literally is an exchange as soon as you see it. It goes from one side to the other. I mean, there's no getting around it. That's exactly what it is. It's going to be that way at the center. So if you say there's a black hole and it blows out to a white hole, hey, guess what? That's an energy exchange, isn't it? You
Uh-huh.
basically pulled it into the dark side and then brought it to the light side. And one side has a side that blasts it all out, one has a side that sucks it all in. And there's exactly what Joe's talking about right there.
Okay, hold on. So let's bridge the gap. So, what do you have to do in order to bring in the 0 point energy, aka bringing in the fourth dimension? Okay, how do you do that energetically? Okay, and here's the answer: it's to emulate the dimensions of the upper dimension, okay, in 3D. And how do you do that? Multi-axis, okay, rotation. Multi-axis rotation. The more points of rotational axis you have, the more dimensionality your system has. Once you emulate the threshold of the upper dimension, you open up the door to that upper dimension, for that energy exchange to take place. Why? Because it creates an ambient. Okay, and this is important. Remember how I said matter brings it in by pressure. Pressure is resistance. Okay, but emulating it through electrical means or energy means, okay, creates an ambient environment for it. What does that mean? Well, that means no pressure. Well, that's better, isn't it? No pressure exchange? Yeah, that's where you want to be. No pressure exchange is superconductivity. No pressure exchange is
Well,
superconductivity.
because you have laminar flow at that point. You have no resistance.
Exactly. And you do it by either raising or lowering your energy state. That's to the ambient of that. And the only way that you can do that is to either speed things up or slow things down, but on a multi-axis rotational circumstance.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw this out there at you. It's that simple relationship that you're talking about that is the reason for time dilation. So let's just go into it, and it goes to what Darren is saying right here.
Mhm.
Opposite of the vortex of the sun, yeah, it's that dark spot. It's that anchor. It's the other side of it that makes it dimensionally relevant.
It's a tether.
It's what's
Everything's
causing the time
tethered, yeah.
dilation. Yeah. That right there is the exchange causing the time dilation. You see, it's never just one. That's the point here. It's never just one. Even in the center of our planet, it's never just one. Okay, it has to create that other side to create the exchange, which creates the time dilation field. Okay,
Right.
that's where it's right. It's interlooped to each other. It's the flow. Okay, it's the exchange of it. That's the difference. That's what's going on here. That's what you have to understand. It absolutely has to have that other side, or else it won't dilate time. I don't think people really understand that.
So here's the cool thing, right? To imagine a little thought experiment real quick. I've thought of many ways to try and describe this, but this is the best way that I've come up with. The idea here is like, let's say you had a fish tank filled with water, okay? And you were able to just snap your fingers and have of that water an ice cube freeze out of the water in the middle of the tank, okay? And then it floats up to the surface, okay? And what do we know about the ice cube? Well, the ice cube will float at the surface, right, with most of it underneath, okay? But the very, very top layer will be above the water. Now, it's of the water, okay? It changed its state, okay? It's still in the water. The water is always surrounding it, okay? Like at all times. And if you could imagine, just for the sake of this thought experiment, the water that it's in can actually flow through it freely too. Okay? Like the point is that the cube is there. Now, if you're on top of this ice cube in this fish tank, right? All you know is, well, I'm on land. You know, and this is the reality. And then even if you were to see the water, you really wouldn't understand what the water is like, you know, if you couldn't jump into it, suppose. And that's sort of the idea. Everything here is made of everything there. Everything here is also there amongst much other things. Okay? And you know, so what's the way to bring it in? Well, you got to become like it again. Right? So if you just make the solid ice cube water again, all of a sudden, you know, you're just part of the swimming pool again. Now, an ice cube could freeze up at any time, at any point again, right?
Mhm.
But that ice cube, it's pressure on the surface tension of the water, isn't it? Yeah, it displaces it a little bit, doesn't it? Well,
Yeah.
that's resistance. The buoyancy is resistance. It's the exact. It's not an analogy. It's exactly how it is.
I
You
agree.
know.
I want to throw this out there because I want to make sure we hit home this thing with the plasma and why the reactor won't work. And I'll just say it as cleanly as I can. It has no other side to it. They're forcing a condition in which it'll never propagate in. It has no other side. So we talk about the exchange. So what was the importance of the double RAV when we did it? It was that one side exploded while the other side pulled in, and then it exchanged, and then it exchanged, and then it exchanged, right? But that's the point. It's an energy exchange. You capture the energy when it explodes or it implodes. Those are the two highest states of energy in it, right? So where do you capture it? In the energy exchange. Why is this so important? Because plasma physics will not ever create fusion without that. They will never get more out than what they put into it until they realize this fact. You don't get to pull it out 100% of the time. You only get to pull it out in 2 states: when it explodes and when it implodes. At those 2
And
states,
that's a really remarkable way to put it, because what that really means in physics, right, is that we're used to things, okay, being in a non-equilibrium state and then going into an equilibrium state and then staying in an equilibrium state after, for the most part. But what this is saying is that when one is expanding and one is contracting, and they're doing so in unison like that, well, there's only a very finite amount of time in the middle where that equilibrium state exists, meaning that it's continuously in a non-equilibrium state, reversing the paradigm entirely. Okay, and it's the reverse equation then, okay, of the pendulum and Planck's and the Planck scale. Well, what the fuck, yo? What are you talking about? Well, what I'm talking about is when the pendulum swings up, there's that moment in time right before it swings down where it's not in motion. And therefore, it crosses Planck and ceases to exist for an infinitesimally small amount of time until the reversal occurs. The thing is that that moment, that infinitesimally small moment, is the equilibrium. Okay? Well, this is putting the shoe on the other foot, where the whole entire motion, except for where they cross in the middle, okay, is the out, the checking out of it. And when they cross in the middle, they blink in to reality, so to speak, the way that we would perceive it normally, right? For that infinitesimally small amount of time.
okay,
So it's very cool. That's what I'm saying. It's very cool.
let me make this relative to people so they understand it.
It's also entanglement, by the way.
The Bedini spike is an energy spike without impedance. So what do I mean by that? The reason he's trying to capture it is because all of a sudden you get a massive spike that's not supposed to happen, right? It means that it's letting go of all the other garbage that's in the system. And at that very point, that very second, the maximum amount of energy is reached, and then it goes back down into a normal system. That's why he's trying to pull the spike out. That's the energy right there. That's the piece you need. You see, that's exactly what it's doing. See, energy never cancels itself out. I don't know why they get this thing. It's some ignorance in their brain, thinking the waves looking the same cancel each other out. No, they create a spike. That spike is the maximum amount of energy in the system that you can possibly get. The higher that is, the more energy you can pull out. It's the time you need to pull it out right then and there. Every single experiment that we're doing in cold energy or over unity or anything like that has to deal with that spike because of that exact same reason. Boom, there's the energy.
Well, see, that and that's cool and right, except there is such a thing as what they would consider pure cancellation, where there is no spike event because it's purely deconstructive interference. Now, in this situation, is it canceled? Well, but why?
Never canceled.
Well, here's the thing. What did I just say? If you reduce the waveform, okay, in its amplitude to the point where it has no frequency, okay, then you fell off the Planck scale. So where does it then exist? It just returned to a state of potential that is to be brought in. It's still, that tension still exists. And that's the point. The tension still exists. And that tension is actually higher and transient in those points as those spikes, because that's the inverse of it going all the way down. Is it going the sum of the both, at least, at minimum? Right? So realistically, it becomes transient. And then wherever that becomes a scalar event. Okay? Because you had the direction this way and the direction that way that had total cancellation. Well, when you propose that they would continue going in that those same directions in a state of diffusion the same as they would if you suppose, all of a sudden you realize it's a 360-degree outward propagation of a greater sum of energy potential, that as soon as it interacts on the other side, they'll say there's random blips. Random blips. All right. Yeah. The energy just
Nothing
sparks up
random.
every so often. No, no, no. That was your canceled waveform interacting at a certain point.
Oh, okay,
And
hold on.
that's the deal.
Hang on. What happens? I'll just tell you this. If it doesn't spike up in energy, and this is what happens in systems, okay? You get a spike, you can pull the energy out, right? It's showing you it's there. If it doesn't show you it's there, and it looks like two waves going across from each other, guess what? This is where runaways happen in your system. This is where you start getting everything going in coherence, okay?
Hmm.
This is when the energy builds up and builds up and builds up and builds up. You don't notice it right away, but time does, and time starts expanding that energy. I could tell you, we're running Tesla coils, having one to the other and doing it, the energy in that room is expanding over and over and over and over. Sorry, it's taking out its capacitance in the air because you're structuring the gas all around it by doing it. You don't realize it. That's when you get a runaway. See, there's no state in which it goes goodbye. There's no state in which you could just close your eyes and pretend it's not there. It's working on a different level, is what it's saying. It's, hey, we're just understanding it better than you. It's running faster. It's running faster. It's like if I took a transformer and ran it at the exact same frequency as the frequency on the transformer or the pole outside, right? What happens? I lose impedance. Okay. I now can just boom, pull the energy out at will. It's like a giant siphon hose, is what happens. Why? Because it lost impedance. It's now on the same wavelength. It now pulls the energy out faster because it's flowing faster. Okay. That's the point here. There's no state in which it cancels because it can't. It's energy. It can't be destroyed. It always amplifies.
I totally agree with most of that too. Again, it's a matter of measure, right? Like and it's a matter of where you're measuring from and where you see it pop up. See, because like that spike, for instance, it may not pop up here to be measured, it might pop up somewhere else to be measured, right? But there was a whole entire distance in between point A and point B in which it was undetectable. And they'll call that a quantum phenomena. You see? And that's not a quantum phenomena in the way that they try to make it all mysterious and stuff.
Quantum is a joke, dude. It's a bunch of questions that you don't have answers for. Instead of looking for the answers, they call it quantum.
Well, to me, the solution is there, and everybody knows what that solution is at this point. That's my opinion. And I'm not, guess what? This is not my boat that I'm in alone. There's actually plenty of credible people that,
I know.
That think that this is the same thing. It's just hard to say that, there's this, a non-existent probability that just, it makes it super predictable, except it's undetectable. And it's undetectable because you're not looking in the right place for it, and you can't sit there and just have to verify with what you can measure all the time. Knowing, and the thing is, they know this. Look at all the stuff that we're doing right now and how they're letting technology out of the bag militarily, which should tell you a lot about what they really have.
We've been telling this for a long time, by the way.
Oh, we've been saying this for a minute, but if they're letting that cat out of the bag on all sorts of stuff, you got to realize what they really have. And here's the problem. I don't know what that next level is.
Well,
I
do. I
know what it is. I'm just saying, do you think there's always got to be, you get to the next point. The point I'm making is you get to the next point, right? And you realize there's other places to go beyond what you even realize. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Oh, okay.
So once you achieve everything that we think, what lies frigging beyond that? Now, that's for probably the next generation of thinkers.
Why?
You know,
I'm not slowing down.
I'm not slowing down either, but I'm just saying, like, I mean, that's a tough one, man.
Yeah,
Uh,
I just want to real quick, Joe, if you don't mind. Magneto Frico helped me out on my Bedini device. I want to say thank you. Uh,
awesome, dude. That thing
Great
came out great.
advice. Dude, he's been checking out my wiring and stuff and helped me out. And I got some problems in the system and he helped me iron them out. I just want to say thank you for doing that, man. It's been totally awesome. So, but yeah, look, I just got to say this. I think they're random events, okay? It's because they don't have something to measure them yet. And you know them. As soon as they get something to measure them, it goes out of quantum realm and goes into the regular realm of regular science because they'll have a definition and a math formula, okay? That's all it is. It's not so much random chance, it's something they don't understand yet. And once they understand it, it becomes they'll stop all the garbage. They'll stop saying we live in the matrix or some other stupid stuff that they want to say. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know. Like, the Matrix isn't necessarily the worst way. I mean, to think about it. I mean, I know that.
I don't mean it in the science term of it. I mean it as the movie we live in the matrix
Like, yeah,
kind of thing.
like a
Yeah,
full
I'm
blown
sorry.
simulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a little like, I think it's a little more complex than that. And frankly, the saying goes, right? Like, if it is a simulation, is it real to you? Then it's real. And you know, it, you can sit there and pull the veil to the side and see what's behind it, and then realize that there's only another curtain. And you could pull up all the curtains and understand it all, but at the end of the day, what's it matter? You know, you just gotta do what you can, you know, with what
Hey,
you got. Do what you can
oh
with
my
what you
God.
got.
Okay, so let me just say this. Why does it matter? I love this question. Okay. Why would something matter if you knew how it was built?
Well, and that's the approach that I take with it. You see,
Okay.
I feel that in order to fully understand what we're doing here, it's important to know how it works there.
Okay.
That's
So
what I believe.
let me just put it this way. I know a lot of people hear this stuff, but that doesn't sink into their head. When I tell you we're in gas right now, okay, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And you go, okay, well, let me Google it. What are we in right now? Okay, well, there's gas all up in the upper atmosphere that's very thick, and then you get down here and it gets thinner. But what is it saying? It's saying we're in a gas field. It's a pressurized environment. Any type of pressure, even if it's air pressure, is still gas. Okay, so what does that mean? We're trying to manipulate gravity with electricity and not knowing why. See, this is the big point. It's because we're trying to manipulate the gas. Now that you understand that, hot air balloons make all the sense in the world. We're manipulating the heat of the gas in order to change the environmental condition of the balloon so that we go up. Okay, that's great. But what do we want to do with electricity? Why would it make a whole thing in anti gravity? Because in order to control everything, you need electrical zones. You need the sheath layers to build out. Once you build the sheath layers of electricity, now you understand why you're zoning gas. Okay. Now you can get your mind around what's going on. Before you were just pissing out electricity like you were farting out thunderstorms or something. But that's not the case here. We're actually trying to accomplish something. We're trying to take that gas structure and making it laminar flow going in different directions in order to break the gaseous structure around it. That's important. Not a lot of people understand that in anti-gravity. You ask them why you putting electricity into your device. Well, I heard, T.T. Brown say we go up. Okay. Well, that's not an answer. The answer is because you're structuring gas. And then you get into it and you say, okay, well, we're in a gas environment. That makes all the sense in the world that's the playground you're playing in. If we put it in water, you say, I'm structuring water. Okay. What are we dealing with in going into that? We're dealing with the radiation zones of both. That's the key. You see, now you understand why we're building it. Why do we have to worry about radiation in this whole thing? Is because it structures everything. It is the structure of the sheath zone itself. That's the important part. So if you know how it's built, you know how to play with the environment around it. If you just say blew thunderstorms out of my ass, okay, you'll never make anti-gravity. You'll think,
No.
I'll just fucking blow it out everywhere. I'll make it bigger, right? It'll work. It'll work. More power to it. No, it won't, because you're not structuring anything. You're just farting. Okay. That's it. You know what I mean? There's a
And, you know,
huge difference.
this is great. Everything you just said and farting. All right. And I'll tell you why it's great. All right. Well, we were talking about detection before, right? Now, think about this. What is, as far as sensors are concerned, okay? What is the one sense that we have, okay, that they have the hardest time creating a sensor to emulate? Well, you can pick up a sound easy. You can record any of the light spectrum, right? Record any of that. Pressure sensor, that, I mean, that's probably the easiest one, right? Realistically, taste, is probably more difficult because, albeit it's subjective, there's chemical tests, right, that you could put in to get positives or negatives for, taste components. So it's not like that's very, very difficult either. That's a form of detection. But smell, you see, there's very few things out there that actually emulate smell, and
I don't know. Sorry, I know you got a train of thought. I'm just going to break it for a second. They've come up with a lot of sprays that emulate smell very well. Like they got a spray you can spray it and it smells like fried chicken. They got a spray that smells exactly like the gas you pass into your body.
No, I'm talking about to detect the smell,
Oh,
to
you mean
detect a broadband spectrum of smells.
okay?
Okay, you could break down something chemically, but that doesn't amount to smell, and things like that. And the reason I'm bringing this up is interesting, all right? And
Go
it's
ahead.
relevant to what you were saying before about that you need to pump all this power into it and whatnot. And how, well, listen, everything has a field, okay? And everything is in some kind of state of degradation, through this energy exchange. All right. The matter is being taken into little pieces, very, very little, you couldn't even see it, pieces, and entering into super high energy states. Okay. And they disperse like a plume around whatever it is for our nose to pick up. But the thing is that these particles are so small. There's in such a high state of, because they're so small, even the ambient environment is enough to bring them into wildly high states of excitation. So when you're picking up a smell in the environment, you're literally picking up the essence, right, of everything that is. And it's crazy to think about because it goes to what you're saying about you got to put all this power in. No, just as it is, a small amount goes a very long way.
Mm-hmm.
But where does that smell really exist? Now, yes, it does exist here. Okay, but a smell itself, I don't know, is like a native function of three-dimensional reality. It's just something, it's a leftover, I think, of the energy exchange relationship. And the same as I said, well, it sheds it through, through heat, or sheds it through this. It's the same thing. It sheds its chemical composition at that point because it's so small and particulate.
Yeah, it's an effect.
Exactly.
It's an effect.
Because
like
there's no
light is an
accumulation of
effect.
the smell of cookies around your house, right? You get what I'm saying?
God, I love cookies.
Even if you bake cookies every fucking day, there's no cookie smell accumulation that that occurs. That doesn't happen. So where's all that particulate go? Well, the idea is it leaves behind its quintessence and then goes away because it's in such a small state of high energetic or low energetic state, whichever. So it's just something to think about. You don't need to pump all the power in. It plumes. It goes. It'll go out. It's all about vectoring. It's all about controlling the direction. What directions and the interactions? How many axes? These are the questions because these are the differentials.
Well, okay, it goes to more than that. How is the gas being held together? You see, that's what people are not understanding. It seems like an invisible force to them. They don't understand that there's dielectricity holding the gas together. It shows up when you get in the upper part of the atmosphere and it expands. The energy is there, the gas is not. Okay, it's it's showing up, and you're not paying attention to it. The energy's already there. Once you structure it, now you can maneuver the energy. See, this is the whole importance of learning how systems work. Okay, do you control it in the beginning? Do you control it in the middle? Do you control it at the end? Why does blowing a few horns control it at the end? It's because frequency itself is a control mechanism of the energy. Therefore, if you want to create it in zoning, you must control the frequency itself in resonance in order to do it. If you don't do that, you can't control it. Okay.
Which
That's
you
why,
automatically do when you add a stabilizing spin to something,
yeah,
by
but
the way.
that's
Because
not what,
anytime something's spinning and it's stable and it stabilizes, there's going to be an inherent frequency and resonance.
but
And
that's not what people are seeing, Joe. If we
yeah,
sat there with a bunch of monks and they're blowing horns, they just see, oh, they're making a bunch of noise. They're making sound, right? They're not seeing the structure beyond it.
right.
You see what I'm
Well, the
saying?
monk might.
Well, the monks do, but I'm saying
The monk might, you know.
if we're all sitting there in our chonies, you know what I mean, our little monk uniform, and going, "What the hell's going on here?" You know what I mean? You got to really realize what's going on. They're structuring the environment around it by blowing their horns in a certain frequency pattern, which makes resonance together as long as there's two or more. And they're already structuring the environment around it. They understood that that's the control factor. They control energy in the environment based on resonance. It can't be one frequency alone. It has to be two in tandem exactly to make the resonance itself. It's an energy exchange between the two. Think of it in the Tesla coil. The number one goes off to enhance the number two. It's an energy exchange at all times when it goes through there. When it backs up, it blows back out the number one coil and destroys your circuit. Why? Because it's an energy exchange in reverse. So you just understand it differently. The system that we want to control in the environment at all times is the resonance frequency. Right there is where our power is, because we don't need to create power because we can't. It's already there. All we need to do is control it. You see, that's a misunderstanding people have because they don't understand the environment. If they understood gas is held together by a certain electrical structure. Therefore, there's energy at all times in between each molecule of the gas. That means that I can use all of those things if I just learn how to control the frequency of them and now control all that energy. Now you can go into a different state. Now you go, okay, now I know properly what I'm dealing with. I know how to control it. Now I just need to find the correct resonance frequency in order to do it. Then you realize something very special. How's a VML created? Two exact cylinders the same, two exact cylinders the same, but opposite the other two. Why? Because resonance frequency, beat frequency is your propulsion, and you're off to the races. Why do you think they're trying to create those things in NASA? Why do you think they want the explosion, and hit one side of it in order to make propulsion? Because this is what they're looking for. Well, now that you understand what they're looking for, now you can understand how to take advantage of it. You see, because they're understanding the problem, you're not. You see what I'm saying? You have to understand how to build a system and understand the problem. That's why people who look at fusion and get it wrong all the time, they still have no clue what they're looking for. They think that the sun is over unity. Therefore, if I can contain that, I have more energy everywhere. But it's not over unity. And once you realize that, then your whole environmental condition has to change inside your structure in order to take advantage of that. We're never going to get past that until you do. Once you realize what it is, then you can get the
good.
energy.
See, this is good because we've talked about, but kind of stumbled on this whole what is over unity. Both of us had a hard time saying what we truly meant it was, you know. like in a solid way. But I think there's a bit of clarity now because what you just said, people think the sun is over unity. Well, why isn't the sun over unity? Well, if you give credence to what I'm saying about the energy exchange, and you propose here, right, that this energy exchange is happening with the sun, we understand that there's still a governing exchange rate there, right? And that governing exchange rate is a direct relationship and correlation between the energy bringing that hydrogen to a plasma form, transmuting and doing all the stuff that it does. Lots of thermal loss. Why? Because it's returning a whole shit ton of energy one way. It's actually returning a lot of the material, right? Back to where it needs to be, in exchange for a lot of thermal heat. And we just say, well, that's what happened to it. Okay. But now check this out, right? That's still resistance. That's huge gravity, huge exchange, but a huge exchange rate, right? Oh, if that means that over unity means the exchange rate is opposite of that. The exchange rate is no resistance, where it just is open up and available to come. Without that matter interaction necessarily. Without that extreme feedback, just by and like I said, I believe that occurs when you emulate the high energy states in the proper vectoring. It opens up that zero resistance pathway to the energy
resistance. Matters the impedance.
Matters the impedance, which is exactly what I'm saying. Right. That's exactly what I'm saying. So you have to utilize plasma as a non-matter energetic force.
Yeah. A free flow of
in
energy.
A multi-vector fashion to create a non-resistance portal, basically, to the energy source itself.
It's exactly why Jupiter has a higher gravitational field, because there's really no impedance to it. In Earth, we got a bunch of matter, which means we have impedance to everything. So we have a low gravitational field compared to it. That's really the answer. The sun is the same way, has a very low, you know what I mean? There's very low matter inside of it. So what happens? There's no impedance. It's able to flow freely. It's not hard to figure out once you understand what you're looking at in that exchange. You know what I mean? Matter, rotational matter, it's not what you think it is in gravity. It's a hindrance to it. You know what I mean? You want to be flowing in gas. You don't want to be trying to flow around the outside of a craft. You want it in the gas structure around it. It's big difference in understanding something, because static electricity is the energy around the device. The dielectric is the energy flowing in the gas around it. You see the difference? Because the friction is on the craft itself. That's where you're going to get the static shock. That's where that buildup is, because it's the friction of the energy hitting it. So it's like if you took a skateboard wheel, right, and you hit it with a water jet, and the wheel itself, the energy's on the outside where the water jet hit it, and the wheel will expand, right? And it'll go out and make all kind of misshapen, because the energy's on the outside. That's where the friction is, right? It's the same kind of process. You just got to understand it in that way. But the reason everything's not static electricity, because you don't have any static going on. It's just simply energy that's there. That's why they call it an ether, because it's there, but you can't feel it, touch it. It just goes right through you. Okay.
So, but
if
that's
it was
actually
static, you'd be like, wow, all day.
Right. The deal with static, though, and this is the whole point, is that you've created the conditions of the dielectric, okay, in order for there to be excitation.
Well,
But there's no relationship, and this is super important, right? There's no relationship, however, of all of this charge potential. So it's clingy on the surface, so to speak, in however amount the potential was created. And it will stay there because it's in a state of excitation. Okay. But because it hasn't been vectored yet, right? It has not, it's not subject necessarily to the same resistance that something in motion is, because it lacks that inertial element. You see, it's the only inertial element that it has is that of its own disturbance. But because it's not in relationship to other disturbances, despite there being many, okay, there's no discharge, right? It's not until you touch the frigging thing and then you curse and pull your hand and go, son of a bitch, I can't be, whatever, right? That it actually vectors. And how does it vector? Well, it goes from 0 dimensions
To the
to one
dimension of your finger.
to one dimension.
Yeah.
Okay, very quickly. And that 0 dimension, by the way, is just another form of a scalar. That's all that really is, because it's inward or outward, but dimensionally irrelevant, because it's just simply an aggravated potential. It's
Well,
there, but it's not until you hit it.
I gotta tell you this, man, it drives me absolutely nuts. People do not realize what the ether is. Okay? They just don't get it. They want to call it all these other words. It's basically just energy that goes through everything. That's what it is. Okay?
Right. Well, I defined it as I define in my way, with the dimensions being involved.
Mhm.
I just said that it is the barrier between the fourth and third dimension. Important to realize about the barrier, okay, is that it is all everywhere you look and through you. Okay, and we're causing pressure on it. There you go. That's ether for you, baby. It's the barrier. It's the line. What is 4D? Okay, they say is time and space. Well, I don't think so. What's on the other side is geometrically relevant to 4 dimensions of geometric, phenomena, like how you would perceive it otherwise. It's the barrier interference that is time and space. That's the threshold, and it's here, everywhere, and permeating you and everything, because you're made of it. It's cool.
Yeah. I can tell you from creating it, there's nothing like it. And in Tesla's own notes, he described it. Okay. You put up lead, it goes through it. You put up iron, it goes through it. You put up anything you want, it'll go through it. You can put your couch in front of it, your TV in your car, it still goes through it. That's when you know it has it. And he calls it a different name. Okay. But it's the same thing. Okay.
Well, the whole point is, the reason it goes through everything is because it is the mesh. So when you put something into the mesh, it's like dropping something on a waterbed. It's what it is. You drop something on a waterbed and the whole entire waterbed ripples. If that waterbed was the size of the whole house and you drop something on it, it'll still ripple the whole damn thing.
Hold on. Stop. Okay. I'm not going here with you. Are you talking about that lattice structure of a flat plane that they try to say is in the solar system?
Lattice structure, flat plane. It's not a flat plane. That's a slice of it. See, that's the pressure is like I described. The pressure is the pressure around the ice cube in the fish tank. But it's inside of it and it's all around it. It's just the pressure. It's not a plane like that. Because it permeates. It's everywhere. And it's everywhere, including inside of everything.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're not going down that road because it drives me nuts. When they
No,
start
here,
saying
you want to, okay, here's the road. Take what they show you and multiply it over and over and over again, all the way down to Planck's distance across. And it's basically a 3-dimensional pixel grid of everything it permeates.
Okay,
If you want to see it that way, I mean, whatever helps your head.
it drives me nuts because it goes against There's no flat plane.
No flat plane.
There's no flat plane.
No flat.
It's not even flat.
It's a
It's
C, brother.
spherical. The energy
It's
is spherical. It's not even flat. I don't even know why they would come up with that. I mean, what kind of jackass makes some flat plane and think it's going to work at like a surfboard on water? It doesn't work that way. The only reason water exists in the way that it does is because it has a 360-degree
Okay.
sphere.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Hold on. I know why they show it that way. I don't like it, and you're not going to like it either. But I know why. It has to do with inertial motion. Okay, because it's representing that flat plane as the inertial motion of the matter in space. Okay, so it's supposing that there's motion involved, and that basically whatever the leading edge of that motion is what they're showing you as a representation of the bend of that flat plane. That would be, then they'll point at it and say gravity and time dilation, right? That's what they'll do with that flat plane thing, right? But that's not how it actually is. It's how they choose to represent it, and everybody believes it because it's simply represented that way.
Oh, it's so ignorant. It's why we don't understand things. Because when you start talking like that, then some jackass think you're riding a surfboard, and then they start describing it as a surfboard, and then we end up in the stupidest thing in the world. Like, oh, we got to get the bubble to turn this way inside this so that it goes like this. No, jackass. You're avoiding that whole situation altogether by creating the bubble. You are no longer relevant to that whole dimension of energy. Okay? No longer relevant to it. You are not on some flat fucking plane.
Wait, we're disassociating them somewhere? Are we disassociating them down dimensions or up dimensions to get rid of them?
It's just, you're not involved in it. Dude, it's so bad. Like, I don't even know how they come up with this garbage. Like, did they not do any experiments whatsoever and just fucking pulled shit out of their ass? I mean, it drives me nuts, man. It's like saying Y1 and Y2 or T1 and T2 is not a fucking straight line. Are you kidding me?
Well, Nathan, I could come up with devil's advocate reasons why they probably came up with it that way. But honestly, I have no idea. And anything that I'd be saying is just speculation. I mean, truthfully, is it that they understand it? They could show it that way. So that, and that's all anybody needs to know, because whatever, is there a more significant reason that they show it that way? Like, hey, you know,
oh my God. Okay,
like
so
they don't want people to figure shit out, or the most probable is that they show it that way because people don't think about this shit like you and I do most of the time. So for the general 99.99% of people out there, that's good enough.
okay, it's like judging distance without a time factor involved. Okay. Alpha Centauri is this far away. Okay. Where is it in the flow of the vortex that's going on in the universe? That's what you, well, we didn't calculate that. Well, why didn't you? Because if we're in a vortex and it's in a circular form going like this, right? Well, if they're behind us, then if you created a bubble right there, the time that it takes to get to them is much faster, right? But if we tried to go upstream, then it would be much longer. So time is relevant in how you get there. Is it possible for them to get here if that time is shortened? Absolutely, right? It's based on where you are because of the geometry of the structure that you're in the vortex that you're actually in. It doesn't matter the distance. It's so many this light years away. Okay, but that's not relevant. It's relevant is how much time it is in where your position is inside the vortex. Okay. That's the important part. They don't even take that into a consideration because they don't understand it. They think we're on this flat fucking plane, so we can judge distance the same way. Let me pull out my tape measure and take a look. Well, it doesn't work that way, jackass. We're moving. Okay. You have
But everything is also not moving exactly relative to one another because of the multi-axis situation that's going on. And you know, it's super crazy to think about. It's something that I've said before, but it's worth saying again, right? If you were to take yourself off of Earth, okay, like way far away from Earth, but you can still see Earth, okay, as a glowing dot, let's just say, and you were to eliminate every single other function, and then you were to watch its motion, it would make no fucking sense to you whatsoever if you were at a still point in space. You'd look at what it's doing and go like, what is going on? And why? It's because there's so many axes of motion that are occurring.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're looking at it from one perspective, not from a fixed place, but looking through fixed space, okay, at other points, doing the same exact thing somewhere else, and then trying to make a determination of it. And then you come to find that, well, that was 3 billion years ago that that you're thinking you're looking at in the first place, or whatever they think. And then they try, it's ridiculous. If you could see Earth from the perspective that I just said, it would be doing things like this. It's not just circling the sun, it's chasing the sun, but the sun is chasing in a galaxy, and that galaxy is whipping around. Okay. And aside from that whipping around, none of these axes are the same. Okay. They're all kind of inverse of one another. So the motion becomes like that automatically. And that's only from one perspective. Imagine looking at something doing that on something doing that, and then thinking that you have your handles on it. Is everything in a great expanse? Well, I mean, they say it is, and I'm not saying it's not. But is it in a great expanse in the way that you think it is? Is it probable that on the other side of one or the other that the inverse is happening? When you look back to the Big Bang and you see the single point, don't you realize that past that point, it expands back out? It is an hourglass, okay? It is what is an hourglass? It's the center of a torus. Uh, you start to get the idea real quick that time exists in the dilation that we experience largely, and the fact that it exists at all, the dimensional threshold and everything, is all because we're still within the compression and decompression zones of a larger 4+ dimensional toroidal sphere itself. Okay, and once you get out the bunghole of that inner geometry and you get blasted out into the outer geometry, which, by the way, upper dimensionally is simultaneously the same, is probably happening all the time, you start to realize you probably spend a lot less time on the outer surface than you do in the inner surface, because that's that's where the event takes place. So that's probably deterministic of Planck scale. I'm just saying blah, 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 blah. The whole point of where I'm going with this is that, yeah, there's a mirrored image of everything somewhere else. Don't you get it? It's just how it goes.
It comes down to, we're just a microcosm of a human cell.
I mean, could that be the case? Maybe.
It's operationally almost the same thing. Well, once you get down to it, we're just a cell in a big line of cells that are going on, and we exist for a moment in time until we're gone. I mean, we just don't see it that way, but that's kind of what it is. We're only here for a certain amount of time because we see time that way. It's like, okay, if I said this over here, this universe collapsed, but then in the cosmos on this side, one appeared. You see what I'm saying? It's basically working itself out, because the outside's like a giant blob. It keeps moving just like this, just like the Earth does. It keeps going, you know what I mean? But one destroys, one creates, one destroys. It happens all the time. We are just a moment in time.
Right. One destroys, one creates, one expands, one contracts, right? One goes up, one goes down. And at the end of the day, what does that mean? One goes left, one goes right.
Yeah.
And when they move in unison, then they're alternating. Right? You see, like an alternating current, which is the polarity, which is the differentials. This is how it goes full circle. And by the way, all of these differentials are actually the same. and they're all just pressure differential.
Yeah, but that's why everything's an explosion in time. It creates one, takes it away, creates another one. Like, who knows? We're creating this RAV, right? Some fucker somewhere is pissed off because he's on one of those little universes inside the RAV itself. You know what I mean? On one of the little plasmoids or satellites that got created, going, fucker, now I don't have any time to do anything. You already destroyed my universe. You know what I mean? I mean, that's how silly it gets to when you really look at what's going on, because it immediately creates a condition, immediately creates the satellites, and it immediately creates everything. So it's like there's someone standing like, what the?
Nothing could be created without something being destroyed. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, if you're going to create something that's in a state of compression, decompression, the high energy state, you're going to have something in decompression and compression in a low energy state somewhere else. And they're intrinsically tied. What does that sound like? Well, sounds like entanglement. You know, and that's the thing. And once you have these two sides separated, you have a non-equilibrium. And when you have a non-equilibrium and then it's structured, all of a sudden you have a situation where the environment, the dimensionality of the environment then changes. Now you have a pump, you have a hole, you have an access point, you have a 0 point, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. The thing is, it's all the same. And what does it come down to? Once again, well, what is compression? Depression, pressure, right? Okay. So that's how it all works, pressure. So when you create the greatest possible pressure differential,
is where the greatest energy is.
It's where the greatest energy is.
That's
Always has been. That's how it all works.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yep.
I love how this stuff actually works, dude. I hate it when they try to confine things in the wrong way, or they try to quickly explain it like the 2-year-old. It drives me nuts. It's like, dude, I just look at them like they're stupid. You could have explained it the right way and just been smart about it, instead of trying to dumb us down and make it something that's not, because you're the reason for the misconception. Just understand that if you try to dumb this down and try to give it to people on a fucking 2-year-old level, you are the reason for the misconception. Okay. You should not make a video. You need to go back and learn. The guy that go, oh, I'm debunking electrical theory. What are you, a fucking idiot? Okay. If you don't have electricity, you don't have a universe. Okay. Oh, I'm going to debunk that. Yeah, you're a fucking moron. Okay. I don't give a shit how many subscribers you got. You're a fucking moron. Okay. It's all cohesive working together. I mean, physics even says it. I mean, go to any physics experiment. How do you think they're fucking putting on their laser? Oh, no, they're not using energy from that. It's lightning from God. Yeah, you're an idiot. Okay.
All right, hold on. So how far reaching is all this stuff, you know? What, and is there such thing, like, let's say, as a closed system? Well, not really. And I'll explain exactly how. It's just because things change. I want you to think about your body real quick, right? It acts like a pump, expansion and contraction, right? Well, the simple mind's like, well, it pumps blood, so it goes squirt. Well, no, you got to remember, for every squirt and then it relaxes, it creates the opposite, right? Pressure. So you get a squirt and a suck and right? So that's how that works. Well, then it comes out of your heart, and then if you look at the shape of your aorta, and you realize how it's structured in that particular curve and the shape of it, right? What you realize is that it's swirling your blood around. Well, why? Because, well, your blood has a lot of iron in it, also plasma, something, right? It's just ironic, I suppose, but creates these vortices and under pressure. It creates laminar flow, right? And the laminar flow allows for a lot of forgiveness in the system, right? Because the system doesn't always, just like your heart rate's not always constant, right? It depends on your needs. And to avoid your turbulence, which would cause you to die of cardiac arrest, it has this laminar flow that allows for these oddities to occur and kind of slip into the middle of the stream, you know, and that's how that works. Nobody says that, but that's how that works. Well, it doesn't end there, because then there's capillary action, right? Because we have capillaries. It's literally what they're called, and then there's this other thing called capillary action. Well, what's that? Well, you have these small little areas that put out, but as a result of that putting out, it follows. And the same as that occurs, because it's leaving, that absence and that pressure loss is made up for on the back end by taking it in from what was just used in an exchange. And that's how that works. And then your blood pumps through your body. And, you know, it fuels your metabolism. And what does your metabolism do? Burn more energy that ultimately gets dissipated through motion, which is heat through the resistance. Then it's emanated out of the body. And this is purely on a mechanical basis. This has nothing to do with your actual being. This is just your physicality. But when you look at that system and then you realize exactly what it's doing, you got to realize is that it takes one side and separates it from the other and knows to put that side into the return for recharge, and then puts out the recharge stuff back into you the way that you need it. That's exactly what the heart acts as, is the rev.
Yeah.
That's it. That it just acts as the
The
rev.
heart's a pump. They basically tell you that. Day one, it's a pump. It's just pumping things from one end to the other.
But then what's the anode? Well, your lungs. The lungs is your
That's the
anode.
exchange. That's the exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boom, back and
That's
forth.
the high energy state. Well, what is a high energy state? Yeah, it's a high energy state. It's got lots of oxygen. You know, it's got lots of hydrogen. It's got, well, nitrogen, which is neither here nor there. But, you know,
Let's move out of the human body. I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube.
no, they changed their policies. We're good, but we're not talking not health advice.
Okay.
This is all biology we're talking about, and I'm fairly certain things I said was accurate.
I just, you know what? I think you're right, Joe. I think we're all right. I just want to establish something for people out there. It's the reason Victor Schauberger understood anti-gravity where other people wouldn't, is because he understood water flow and how it moves and how to control it and things like that and the energy state in it. He saw that the structure of the environment was gas and that you can control it like water. That was the point. And when you see him do his energy experiment, or when they recreated it, you see water doing this, making your famous little donut. Okay. And then you start to understand what he was talking about. He had structured the environment of the air itself for the water to flow like this. That's what he was doing. Okay.
Mhm.
So just understand Schauberger the right way. That's what it is. Okay. He saw the gaseous structure like he saw water, and he saw how to control it. Okay. That's when you get to a different state of mind. That's what we're trying to bring you into here when we're talking about the human body, or we talk about, you know what I mean, space, or we talk about, you know, any kind of project you're working on or whatever it is. If you can understand that, then you have it. Okay. It's the same concept over and over again. Nature has a funny way of repeating itself again and again. And when you think it's not repeating itself, it just changed the environmental condition, but it's still repeating itself. I mean, I can't explain that to many people, but if your energy source is the same, if you're always putting in DC power into something, but it's giving you something different on the other end, and you got all these different that comes about it, but you're using a battery all the same, just understand you're creating a different environmental condition.
You are.
In whatever you're doing. That's what changes the energy and how it's working. Okay. That's the condition. That's what we're trying to say here. The energy is the same throughout the entire cosmos, no matter what you do. It's how you confine it. It's how you pressurize it. It's how the environment works around it. What condition did you put it in? Okay.
I'm
That's
gonna say something really weird, man.
Go ahead.
And this was actually probably one of the deepest things that led to my level of understanding of all this. Okay.
Oh,
But probably one of the most benign things that you would never think, okay, is the closest thing to an anti-gravity device that we have, that does not act as an anti-gravity device at all in its function. Okay. And that is just a Dr. Brown's baby bottle. Okay. A Dr. Brown's baby bottle. Now, there's a reason for this. All right. They're gasless, right? So if you think about it, what it's doing is you have the baby sucking on the bottle and creating a vacuum inside the bottle. Okay. And along with that would usually come, difficulty to keep on sucking out of it.
mhm.
But babies don't want to keep on, they don't want to stop. And that means that they'd be taking in a great deal of air. So they came up with a way to be able to regulate and alleviate the pressure inside the bottle, okay, without there being any leakage of the liquid, because that's key. Because cool, it's easy enough to vent the bottle, but it's not easy to vent a bottle to allow the pressure to release without letting the liquid out, right?
Mhm.
So we're dealing with a lot of different things here. We're talking about phase differential between gas and liquid, okay, holding a vacuum enough that there's still a back pressure, an unequal exchange of resistance, okay, and still managing to allow it to vent. Now, how did they do this? Well, they did it by having certain geometries, okay, and the geometries are this. There's two things. Okay, there's one that's a tube. The tube is wide at one side, okay, mostly untapered. Then a taper that's at a very specific angle, which is probably close to golden ratio. Okay, because what comes out of it in a very short duration is 4 times smaller, exactly 4 times smaller and centered. Now, what you notice about this, if you're dealing with water, okay, is if you introduce water into the large part of the tube, okay, it will actually start to vortex around the large part of the tube, and it will, without any effort whatsoever, go from that size all the way down tapered 4 times smaller, continue to spiral down the smaller tube, and blow out at a much higher pressure. Right? That all that makes sense, right? Except how it avoids the turbulence to enter into that hole without the resistance of the back pressure created by the tube. Do you see? That's where it comes in. It's all about that vortex with that. All right. Now, what that hooks up to is weird because it looks like a UFO. It shares similar geometries. If you put the water into that under certain other angles, it also creates a vortex. All right. In addition, where it vents out to, comes to a T and vents out the side. Okay. Now, here's where it gets crazy. When you put the water into the thing, which is very, very small, it's probably less than a quarter of an inch where it hooks up, okay, to these vents. And you put the water in there, it'll blow out both sides in a pulse. Okay. So what is it doing? It's changing the flow of the pressure to be able to dispel the liquid. You see, it's pushing the liquid out by creating these different geometric flows that are patterning in different laminar ways in vector differences, and all the vectors are there. And the result is exactly what you would think. It takes what you're trying to push away and keeps it pushed away while letting the pressure out. Well, what's that sound like? You need the energy to go out, and then you need to push away the rest of the stuff. And how do you do it? By using these different vectorings in laminosity or laminicity or whatever, however it's said. in laminar flow. That's it. It's the closest thing to a UFO. It's totally benign as far as what it is, but it's also, even though it's mechanical, it's passive. It just simply works because of the differentials existing, meaning that, once the differential is created, it reacts to it. You don't need a secondary input to make it function. It just works because the differential is created. Which is the same as all you're going to do anytime you power something, is you're going to create the polarity. Well, once you create the polarity and you have them high enough in separate places, and then they go through that secondary phase of event, all of a sudden your energy is dispersed in a way that it's doing what I'm saying. Bang! It's crazy. Airplanes are closer to anti-gravity, just saying. But no, neither here nor
So funny. Oh man. Yeah, you imagine sitting in with Joe in an elevator listening to this. We're talking about baby bottles, and he's telling you how the universe works. I love it.
Listen, if you can't look at a baby bottle and then realize it's the same as UFO, listen, brother. Yeah, certain things. There's a reason that I deal with high-end New York lawyers for a living, like, guys that wear like real nice suits to work in high rises.
Yeah, I could see that. Wow, they're getting in an argument with you. You won't even know which ends up by the time you're done. You're like, well, whatever you want, buddy. I just don't understand anymore. Oh,
one day I'll tell you why polar bears are penguins. I haven't figured it out yet, but I will.
Oh, penguins, man. I went by the penguins if it smells like shit.
Oh, they're terrible, bro. Oh, especially the African ones, sound. I had to throw that one in there. That was a joke.
Good joke. Oh man, I love SeaWorld, man. But every time I go by there, I'm like, oh man. And you always want to go to see the penguins, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, we'll have to get into one day, Joe, the pictures they show of people riding dinosaurs. You ever see that in the ancient carvings and stuff?
I saw something in that, and then there was actually a guy that sounded kind of smart, and he said something, and I cracked up. Like, all right, so here's what we're gonna tell you about this. Do you see how they look like brontosauruses? He's like, they're camels. He's like,
Camel?
yeah, and he's like, and we'll tell you why they look like this is because the person that painted this did not live anywhere near where camels live and has never seen one before in his life. and has only heard a description of one. I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, if I described the camel to you, it might look like a brontosaurus.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I like that one.
Yeah.
Oh my God, shake weight. I remember those things, man. That was the craziest thing. I would never use one of those.
Well, we're out there mitigating the camel population as we speak, so so they can't be confused for brontosauruses anymore.
What was that in trivia? Does a camel have one hump or two?
Both. Either is actually the.
I don't know, man. I've never been around a camel. I have no idea what they have.
Yeah. There's they could have one hump or they could have two humps. I don't think they could have three humps. Definitely don't think so, and they definitely can't have no hump. And honestly, yeah, that's because all the ones with no humps died of depression.
Nice. Oh man.
Either that or live to be a happy man. One or the other. I don't really know. They got the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah. With this stuff, man. Oh, that's funny. Oh yeah. Let's get into some other topics soon enough, Joe. God, I just couldn't help myself, man. The yarn knitting thing, dude. They're putting this thing everywhere. Yeah, they're building it for yarn, or you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
For ancient toe socks, you know?
Yeah.
But well, toe socks so they could wear them with their sandals because they didn't have Nikes back then because they didn't Vietnam didn't exist until like probably like the 1900s or something.
Vietnam didn't exist.
They haven't discovered Vietnam yet, the Nike factory.
I gotta have a talk with them, man. Every time I buy a pair of Nikes, man, like what is it? Like 4 months later, the bottom of the shoe comes unglued. It's like, dude, who's over there shorting the glue, man? Like, what the frick, man?
Yeah, but they used to be like so precise with it, or with the Chinese, and
Yes,
man, the Vietnamese they're sloppy with their glue.
yeah.
That it's all running up the sides now, and then not in some places at all, where you can like rub your fingernail in between it.
It's always the
Yeah.
tip of the shoe. It opens up like you know what I mean? Like it's talking to you. And then I
Yeah.
start tripping because I, drag my foot and then I'm falling my fat ass 300 pounds, falling into the ditch because of their stupid shoe construction. It's like, dude, just put enough glue onto it so that I can wear out my shoes naturally. You know what I mean? Without that being the case that I buy new shoes all the time. I mean, great, it's good for you. You get more money, but it sucks for me. Sorry.
Yeah,
Just griping
yeah.
about it.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of Nikes, to be honest with you, but the ones that I buy don't do that because they're sewn, on the sides.
Oh, well, I didn't get the sewn one. They don't
Yeah,
make it extra wide.
yeah. Oh,
They
they
make it
definitely do.
skinny.
Because man, I wear like Air Force Ones and stuff like that, like Air Force One mids and stuff. Those are basketball shoes. Come on, you have a bigger foot than like Shaquille O'Neal.
No, it's not the size of the foot, it's the width, dude. Around here in California, apparently they don't sell them like that. I got a special
Yeah,
order.
that's fair. The internet.
Yeah, to buy a different style shoe.
Yeah.
I used to wear Reeboks, man, back in the day. They were like the most comfortable shoes ever. I
Oh
had a
yeah.
pair of
I used
Reeboks
to
for a
rock
year and a
myself a
half.
pair of like LA Gear Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's,
Yeah.
or like Reebok pumps.
The pump. Oh, that was great.
Yeah, this all stuff you wish you kept, right? Because honestly, it's like, man, people love that shit now. They pay money for it.
Oh, they pay a lot of money for it now. Yeah, I see that, man. Some people have some insane shoe collections and stuff like that. I've seen that out there.
Yeah,
It's like
I used to like that for a while when I had money to piss away. Now, now it's just like I don't remember what year I bought my last pair. It's like, oh. All I know is I got a pair of Red Wing boots. Those last for a long time.
Yeah.
Unless you get don't ever get the soles hot though. Even though they're replaceable, they will melt. Like I put that on a hot pipe or two, man, and woo, melt right through.
Oh, dude, I haven't had like a lot of money for a minute now, dude. I asked for chonies and socks for my uh for Christmas. You know what I mean? Back like
Mm.
when Mama used to buy you that for Christmas and you'd be all upset because there was no money in the house, but she had to give you a gift on wrap, and you got your underwear and you got your socks. Well, I asked my wife for the same thing and go, man, I need some more of those. You know what I mean? I got a
I
whole new
read
wardrobe.
that many years ago. Is that if you ever want to tell how financially well a man's doing, is to open up his underwear drawer, and if all of his underwear are new and in pretty good condition, they're doing friggin' good because ain't nobody bought them for him. Not that many, and like they're never going to go to the store and voluntarily buy themselves a pair unless if they're in dire need, and they're never going to buy a whole entire drawer full. So
No,
I was
I
like,
guess,
that is a damn good point.
I guess it is. Yeah, I won't even mention, but yeah, I could use some new stuff again. Oh, I need to get it on my birthday and for Christmas, apparently. Oh man.
Oh,
Oh. Oh, Joe, hey, I just want to mention real quick on my Bedini project and then also the Renegade, I'm doing them on the other channel. So for those of you out there that know my other channel, I put it in the top of the chat. Basically, I'm running both of those systems on that channel and doing the investigative work over there. And then over here, we're keeping it the RAV. And then as soon as the Gravity Flyer comes out, man, we're going on that. And we're just going to keep two separate investigations going on so we don't get, I mean, all over the place. So,
yep. And although I can't say exactly when because of the weather, it's going to be mine season again, and
nice.
and I was able to purchase 9 full days worth of digs. That I could get out there and go find quartz and stuff. So I know I had mentioned that previously, but I have 9 days worth of digging to do.
Dude, shout out everybody in the chat and everybody who supported you and
Yeah,
donated
right on,
money,
man.
man.
There was a lot of people that were very generous in donating to that, so I really appreciate it. I mean, listen, I got a good deal on them, which is nice, but at the normal price of $100 or $125 per day, I mean, that's the normal going rate. Well, let's just say that it's $1,000 worth of digging that I was able to,
Nice.
you know,
Dude, everybody
get
loves
on.
those episodes when you go out there, man, and dig those things out. It's just fascinating to see what you find.
Yeah, so like I said last time, when I get out to do it, I will put, me and Nathan will either link up and we'll get it live streamed, or the only thing that's a little hit or miss is the service there is pretty bad. So, if it gets that bad where I can't do it live, then I'll make sure to get plenty of footage and
Oh yeah, yeah.
provided I get a lot of quartz, we'll have cool experiments, we'll do giveaways, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, as long as you get the footage of it, man, we're good.
Oh
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I'd like to do it live. I liked when I did it live, though. It felt motivating. It's like, oh man, I better not slack off now. What people want.
Oh, they better find more in those mines than just your crack, huh?
It's like, I just better swing that sledge a little harder. I don't want to be on the internet looking like a pussy.
Oh man. Oh, you did fine last time, Joe. It was great, man. Oh, oh man. Yeah,
Paul asked if there is a quartz detector. There is not a quartz detector. The quartz detector is banging through the rock until you find the damn pockets of quartz. I mean, there's no other real way. Like, I hate to say it, but it's true. There's actually no good method to even look at a rock face and know where one of those pockets is going to be.
Yeah.
Like, you could find a fracture maybe and be like, okay, maybe it's up the odds a little bit, but trust me, I've seen fractures, broke into them, and there's nothing there. So,
Well, it's why they take that big old pressurized hose out there when they mine for this stuff. You know what I mean? And then they get them up in this wash area, and it basically just disintegrates all the dirt until you can find something.
well, so there are crystals somewhat, okay, loose in the dirt. I'm not saying that there's not, but that's not how this mine is. This mine is it's all dull stone, or which is like a hard kind of rock, that has dolomite crystal kind of built into its structure. It's pretty hard. Like, it's not very, very hard, but it's hard when it's a whole entire rock face of it. Like, if I handed you a piece of it this big and gave you a hammer, you'd hit it probably one time and it'd break, and you'd be like, "Oh, I don't know what you're bitching about." Okay, when it's an entire wall of it, and it's as far as the eye can see in either direction, and it's 20 feet high, it kind of absorbs the blow.
Yeah.
So
You told me,
it's not the same, as just knocking one piece in half. And you really got to chisel this crap out to get into the pockets, because what's cool, right, is that all that shit is volcanic, okay? Or highly metamorphosized or whatever it is, but I'm pretty sure it's volcanic, and it had gas voids in it. And the voids could be very small, voids can be very big, but the whole entire material is somewhat permeable. And at one time, it had geothermal activity where it was fully permeated, the same way that I was kind of describing about the ice cube before, where it's like, it's all around it and it's in it. Same deal. Okay, the all that brine solution where the silica is dissolved into, is inside of these pockets in the rocks, and it's going to leave the crystal deposit inside of those pockets. So sometimes they grow too damn big, for the size of the pocket, and it'll just get stuck all over the matrix that it's growing on. But other times it'll have plenty of room to grow, right? And some of these voids are big, right? So when it has plenty of room to grow, there'll be this void, but when you bust open the void, there's a perfect crystal directly inside of this hole. Nice. So those are the holes you want to find. And it's not only one crystal. If you find the one big crystal, you'll sit there and sweep out with your hand dozens of little crystals, usually. Just stuff that was here or there. And then once the solution fell out, it was like, there you go. That's where it exists. So you can't go in there with the hose, because you could squirt the damn rock all day and it ain't going away.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying, like, in other countries, that's what they do.
Oh, yeah. There's quartz deposits all over in clay and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Clay, because the clay does the same thing. Makes a void, crystal grows.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's not this place. But they got some honkers there, I'll tell you that. Double-handed.
Tune in Tokyo. All right, guys. It's been about 2 hours, man. We're going to kick it off today. Guys, I gave out 5 Old Man Build memberships today. For those of you who got them, welcome to the members section, man. And hopefully you enjoy all the content there. I want to shout out a couple things. Mike Faraday on Faraday Research Channel tonight. Check him out. Really cool show. Also, Traveling Fools, man. We're over there tonight doing a show. It's Fool's birthday. So just want to say happy birthday to him. And we'll see him tonight and have a big adventure, man.
Very cool. Sounds like a plan.
Right on, everybody. I want to say thank you to the chat, man. You guys have been totally awesome tonight. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for listening to us and hanging out with us. That's it. You got anything else, Joe?
Peace and love.
Right on, guys. Have a great night.
The old man Bill. The old man Bill. The old man Bill. The old man Bill. The old man builds is broken in the head. People not seeing reality has put them in the red. Where conscious and spirituality restricted from the norm and replaced with the ignorance of basic magnetic form. The geometry of God keeps running through his head. That's what makes old man builds broken in the head. The old man builds. The old man builds. Spheres of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to instead. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. Fears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds. The old man builds. Wheels of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time. Battling the establishment for just a little recognition has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds